Hiya, I'm Adrian. I want to talk to you about what happened when I took, or rather applied, magnesium oil to my skin every day, at least once a day, for the last 3 years, and it's been a really interesting journey. Before we get started, I think it's important for you to understand that I'd actually got really quite poorly with a whole bunch of different symptoms. And I'd actually put it down to the fact I was just getting older. Just turned 55 now. Things were happening, and things were happening sort of similar to my friends around my age group. So I didn't really pay too much attention to it, but then they really started to bother me. The way my head works, I've got an engineering background. I'm not trained as an engineer, but I just love taking things apart and fixing things. So a symptom is an effect. It's not the cause. So if you have a headache and you take something for the headache, you've treated the effect, not the cause. And I don't think, certainly for me, that's the right way to do it. I think it's more important to look at what the cause is, and then the effect, the symptom, will go away. And it's really that straightforward in much of what I've looked at to do with health, and pretty much everything else. So you look at causality rather than looking at effect anyway. So yeah, rather than look at effect, look at the cause, and then figure out what the cause is. There were so many things going on, I started to wonder if maybe something was sat at a much higher level that was affecting so many different things. If you run out of magnesium in your heart, for example, I believe you have a heart attack and die. So as you go short, the less critical things can be affected, and that's where the symptoms started to show up, and then something else shows up and something else shows up. And it's when I realized that I had many of these things, I thought maybe this is something to do with magnesium. So muscle cramps and twitches, oh my God. Nearly every single night I would lie in bed and I would wake up in the middle of the night with awful cramps either in my calves or in my feet, which are just, awful. And I'd go and get a glass of water with a bit of sea salt in it because that's what I was told was good for cramps. I thought it was a sodium, but it turns out there's magnesium in there as well. And the sodium obviously helps. And twitches, this was weird. I'd carry my phone in my back pocket, which is probably a really bad place to carry it since it's close to your hips, which is where you've got lots of bone marrow, but anyway, that's another story. It felt like my phone was ringing, that vibration, but it was actually muscle twitches in my legs. It was the weirdest thing going on. I also had my hands had started to kind of have tremors and shakes, and I'd seen that a lot in old people, but if you look now, that's all gone. So, insomnia, never really had a problem with that. Irritability, no, not my thing, but again, a lot of people have that, increased irritability. Sensitivity to loud noises. If something made a bang nearby, you'd be digging me out of the ceiling. I would jump, my heart rate would go through the roof. Any kind of loud noise, a slamming door, and I hadn't really become aware of just how sensitive I'd become to it. But yeah, it was just, I would jump out of my skin, and it was, I think some people found it quite funny, but for me it was really disturbing. Anyway, good news is that's all gone. Anxiety, and I certainly had a lot of anxiety about a lot of things, which again isn't normally like me because I'm so chilled and so relaxed about most things, but those levels had crept up. Palpitations, oh my gosh. I had arrhythmia, which actually isn't on my list here, and it should be. Really bad. I'd be moving along through my day, and my heart would suddenly go boom, 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 and it would stop, and then it would do it again, then it would stop, and then once when I drank, I used to drink a lot of coffee, and I actually don't touch coffee at all. I love the smell. I was driving. Picked my partner up, we were going out to the pub, and all of a sudden my heart rate, it felt like it had gone through the roof. It was, but I had no pulse. I couldn't feel a pulse, and I was starting to black out. So I got we were only just around the corner from the pub, and I actually thought it was that bad. I thought I was going to check out, that's it, I'm finished. I drank a gallon of water, felt a little bit better, went to bed, hadn't put it together that it was the coffee. The next morning, I had another cup of coffee, and the same thing happened again, and I'm on the kitchen floor thinking, I can't do this. So since that day, and that was about 5 years ago now, I've never ever touched coffee. I daren't, and it's an increased sensitivity to coffee, but of course coffee is one of the things that strips magnesium out of your system, so maybe that was something to do with it, I don't know. But anyway, back to palpitations. That that odd thumping heart rate that would come and go several times during the day, that's completely gone, and I've not had it since, which is wonderful. You know, the next one I nearly wasn't going to talk about because it kind of goes in with cramps, and it's anal spasms. You talk about pain and not really understanding what to do about it, but I think that goes into the cramp thing. So for want of a better word, ass cramp, and to be avoided at all costs, and certainly the magnesium does help with that, thankfully. Headaches and migraines. This was a huge one for me. It had got to the point where I was getting a migraine pretty much 2 or 3 times a week. I'd have maybe a day or half a day between them, and then they'd just come back, and it was making work really difficult. I would come in, I would have to be in a dark room, I'd go straight to bed, sleep, I'd feel better in the morning, possibly, or it'd last 2 days, and just as it was passing, it would start again. I think I've had 1 migraine now, say migraine or migraine? Whatever, migraine in the last 3 years, and for me that alone is amazing because they are debilitating. Trouble swallowing. Now this was an interesting one for me. As I said, I'm 55 now, so I'm 52 years old, and I've gone back to, you know when you swallow and breathe at the same time and you end up coughing and spluttering, and it's just it's horrible. That would happen 4 or 5 times during the course of a meal. And when I was drinking drinks and everything, and I'm thinking, this is ridiculous. I'm in my 50s. I know what to do, but for some reason, what's going on here wasn't working properly. And there's a flap in the back of your throat which opens and closes so you can breathe and swallow, and you tend not to do the same thing at the same time. From when I was doing the research, I understand that the magnesium plays a hand in that. So if you're low on magnesium, that doesn't work properly. So with all that said, all of those things I talked about have gone. And there's one other thing actually, which is really cool, and I've kind of got an idea on this one, but I might be a million miles away on it, but I'm going to tell you anyway, and if I'm wrong, that's fine. If I'm not, doesn't matter. That as you get older, you tend to get up and go for a pee during the night, you know, 2, 3 times. And it's just one of those things, you kind of get used to it. It creeps up on you, you don't really aware you're doing it, but you have disturbed sleep. That doesn't happen anymore. I get to bed and I sleep right through to the morning. And I had wondered whether, because magnesium is the thing that makes your body more supple, is it possible that maybe the bladder is less supple, so it feels like it's reached the full point, and then you have to get up and pee when you're not really peeing a lot? It also could have to do with prostate, I don't know. Anyway, whatever it is, I mean, if I have a big drink late on in the evening, then possibly I will get up. But normally now, no, I sleep straight through. It's absolutely amazing. And it's worth it just for that. So, there's several ways of buying it. You can go to the health food shop and you can get some magnesium oil. And it comes in a little 100ml squirty bottle. And it costs about, I think, $9.99 or 10 quid, something like that. I looked at that and I thought, wow, it's really expensive. Why is it so expensive and what's in it? So when I had a look at it, it turns out that it is the magnesium chloride flakes, the dried out seawater. And this is also probably why, actually, when you go and spend time at the seaside or the ocean and you swim a lot, you probably do really well, because I suspect there's lots of magnesium in there. There's certainly tons of magnesium in the seawater, and you're swimming and you're absorbing it. And I know I used to feel amazing after a holiday where I was swimming in the ocean all the time. And of course I hadn't put 2 and 2 together at that point. So what you can do is you can buy this. Now I buy it on eBay or Amazon. I'll put a link below where you can buy some. I buy the flakes. You take the flakes, you get a measure. Okay, so a couple of things. You don't have to be exact with this at all. So I'm just going to put this to about half full. There. That's actually, so about there. Just filtered water. Now, you could actually leave this and just leave it sat, and it would largely dissolve. But have you got one of these? These things are awesome for mixing. I found it at the market. It's amazing, absolutely amazing. you need to put that, just pour that into there. Now I'm not going to do it here on the worktop, I'll do it over the sink. I'll be back in one sec. I get up in the morning, I have a shower, I dry off, I then get the spray in the hand, and because I'm bald I rub it on my head and my neck, all on my arms, all down my sides, my back, obviously my other arm as well, and on my legs. It's a bit more challenging for me because I'm about as hairy as a gorilla, so I tend to go for the areas where there's less hair, so like the sides of my legs and stuff like that, so it's marginally less hairy. The first thing you'll notice, you might not notice but many people do, is when you first start to use this in the morning, it itches like I don't know what. That does pass, but I felt like I wanted to itch my skin off. It was awful. So go easy, but that does pass. I found it in about sort of 10-15 minutes, and within about 4 or 5 days it doesn't happen at all anymore. So I wonder if it's because you're low on magnesium and it's kind of rushing through your skin. I really don't know. Some people choose then to have another shower afterwards to wash, because all that's left then is the chlorides, the salts. For me, once I'm dry, then I'll get dressed and go about my day. Word of warning, I wouldn't get dressed until it has been absorbed into your skin and dried. For me, it did seem to stain some of the clothes. Certainly some of my black and my grey t-shirts have got kind of light grey marks on them, or light brown marks on them, so it maybe acted as a bleach. I don't know, I don't quite understand that. But as long as I'm dry, never have a problem with that. And that's pretty much it. So it's up, shower, dry off, magnesium all over, let yourself dry, get dressed, go about your business. I don't know how long it will take for you to start noticing effects, because it's not going to go where you think it needs to go. Your body's going to put it to good use where your body needs it. So your body knows what it needs. So for me, I wasn't really aware of, like one day it just stopped. I just noticed that everything started to feel better and calm down. And before I know it, all of those problems had just evaporated. And I didn't really realize. That's why I had to read many of them on there. They just went away. And it's something that I will not stop doing. If you want a nice treat, by the way, have a bath at night and throw a couple of handfuls in the bath and have a soak. Your skin will feel amazing, you'll sleep amazing. If you like the video, click the like button. Please subscribe, because there's going to be many more videos like this, all sorts of different subjects we're talking about. Leave some comments. I won't get involved in answering specific health related stuff. I'm not a medical practitioner, but anything other than that, please ask away and I'll do my best to answer your questions. And I look forward to seeing you on the next video.